Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Morning Coffee series session. Today, this is an extra special session. It's Friday, and it's a Q&A goodie bag session. And my name is Satu Ahlman from Saga Performance, and with me, I have my business partner, Pavel Novak, who is the negotiation expert. And let's say my expertise is in the performance area. And today we're going to combine those two topics, and the ones who have been with us before know already a little bit about both and how these sessions go. Feel free to write down on the chat your questions and your comments throughout the session, but at the end we will also have some time for you to then ask your questions. Let's kick things off. And by the way, this is being recorded now, so make sure your mics and cameras are off during that time. Q&A goodie bag, Pavel.
Good morning, everyone.
Where do we start?
Let's start with just the logo on the bottom. That logo on the bottom is a master coaching logo. Why, you might ask, are we talking about negotiation and performance? It's because we realized with Satu that these two topics are very kind of linked and intertwined. And the more we discuss and the deeper we go, the more we see, oh, this is really something cross functional. So that's why the questions we selected to get us started are a mixture of things you asked earlier. And we wanted to start with the first one. Is busy the new stupid? And my question, if we could rephrase it also into, is more always more?
Yeah.
And it's being January, New Year's resolutions. I'll try harder, I'll exercise more, I'll learn more. Is this really a good strategy? Satu, what does the performance science and your experience tell us about this?
Yeah, if you put the question that way, my simple answer is, well, yes and no. And then I need to explain myself. Looking at some data, which is interesting, from last year, from some of the trackers and devices that we use in our programs, the partner companies such as Firstbeat, for instance, has released some data about how people have invested more and more in being efficient, more and more doing actually high intensity sports as well, which led not to better performance in general, but more tired people.
Of this, your nice,
I'm sorry, now you need to mute yourself, whoever is speaking. Okay, done, great, thank you. So yes, the question about is more always better? I think high performers generally easily start doing more and think that is better, but then sustainability and long-term, it's not better. You will get fatigued, whether it's short-term looking at your week or your day at work, or longer periods of time. For a human being, it's not sustainable just to do more and more. You need to be strategic and be able to lead your own performance.
Which is harder and harder, knowing with the internet being just one big, huge supermarket. And we discussed how even the shopping is now delivered to your door. So it could actually be, could take some self-control to do that. Carlo is raising a hand. I guess he wants to ask a question. Carlo, could you send it through the chat, please? That would be perfect.
Yeah. Perfect. And I think also busyness being a trend, it's been like that for, let's say, past 10, 12, 20 years, that high performing cultures also in workplaces have been promoting this kind of maybe subconsciously, this culture of, yeah, the more busier you can say that you are, the cooler you are, which then has led to a lot of, well, at the end, sick leaves, burnouts, and so on. And now we're starting to pay the bill and starting to realize that on an individual level, I don't want to be saying that I'm busy, because that's going to harm me at the end.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever happened to that question, Carlo? Oh, how far is the 4 days working week?
Well, Excellent question. I know that here in Sweden, there are already companies who are practicing that. So it is real life in some countries. And I think the Nordics are sort of the forefront in this area, or at least in the discussions. And personally, knowing some companies that are doing that, they have really great results. So it hasn't led to any, let's say, less productivity or efficiency, rather actually becoming healthier organizations and healthier people.
And next topic, by the way, maybe it's time to say, will be on productivity.
Yes, in 2 weeks' time.
And you might be surprised on the effects of that. Not spending more time, actually, spending more time doesn't necessarily mean that the performance is better at work and at anything.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's very relevant also to look into the second question that we have here, because they really go and interconnect, especially now the last year and this year going forward. We're still going to most likely be spending a lot of time here on Zoom, and people are really saying it out loud that I'm getting tired of Zoom or Teams or whatever the device is. And the level of efficiency that we can see, back-to-back meetings, people not being able to steer their breaks or not knowing that they should do that, there is fatigue. So how do Pavel see that? How do you compensate for this fatigue, and how do you personally see it?
Well, we chatted yesterday about how really the world has become one big bar where everybody is, your friends, your workout, your yoga instructor, your boss, your colleagues, your customers. It's like everybody's looking at you from the screen. So in the past, when the work was over, you could just talk to your friends. How I do it, I started actually exercising much more in the mornings and in the evenings, and I try and make sure I get out during the day, even for a walk, because it really is stretching our attention. And I've talked to people who've been suffering with some nice side effects of being on Zoom 7 times a day, like hearing problems, sleeping problems. Generally speaking, January seems like, at least around my circle of clients, that everybody's kind of catching up the effects of the end of the year, where everything was online. So for me, it's trying also to use a regular phone or not a camera every now and then, which is so relaxing, and it's kind of rediscovering something that we used to do and for some time it disappeared. But that's how I try to mix things a bit.
Yeah, and I think that's a smart move. Having a variety of both tools, but processes and actions during the day, your body needs that and your brain needs that. And that could be as simple as taking a 5-minute break between meetings and maybe catching some fresh air, just breathing out from the window if you can't go out, or doing some sort of stretching, or just not looking at the screen. And talking about, you mentioned that people are getting like physical symptoms from these Zoom meetings and the overload of screen time. You need to take care of yourself unless someone is giving you, let's say, filters on your laptop and so on. I would recommend that you take that responsibility on your own and purchase some filters that are filtering the blue light and modifying it during the daytime so that your eyes won't get so tired. You could also have this kind of eyeglasses that block some of the blue light from the devices, especially if you have to work late in the evening, because these things have to do with your circadian rhythm, your sleep cycle, your melatonin production, your hormonal balance. So it's not just that you feel tired. There are actually things physically happening in your body that are maybe harmful for your condition, your overall health and well-being.
And I think, it's the time for school results, midterm school results here in the Czech Republic, probably also in Sweden. And I saw our kids' results, and there was something about the focus, right? In the distant learning in some subjects, you should be more focused. So I think that's the price we pay, not only adults, but the kids as well.
Yeah.
That the ability to stay focused and on the topic is diminishing.
Yeah.
I wanted to I wanted to come back, Satu, also from the negotiation point of view, to busy being the new stupid or more being more.
Yeah.
I just my experience recently with some negotiations. Just go to the negotiation with some space in your head. So it's not like filling your head with all the data and all the sentences and all the numbers, but actually allowing yourself some space to get surprised and learn, find out something new.
That's so important.
So really,
the space, I mean.
Create, so that it's a conversation. So when I say busy, and of course the online negotiation, you might feel the urge to fill in the silences. So even allowing silences, kind of to slide away a little bit, can be useful for the healthy conversation to happen.
Yeah, like now, for instance, I'm so eager to say what I want to say that I'm having a tough time shutting up, which means that I actually might miss something important that, Pavel, you're saying at the moment. So controlling and really letting yourself also take the time and the space is not only beneficial for you, but also for the counterpart and for your collaboration, I would say. And creating that space in your life, whether it's in a virtual meeting or in general, I think it's very, very important that you know what kind of tricks and tools you need to, well, practice, whether it is breathing or just being conscious about this, that you find that way of freeing time for nothing to regain control and be in the lead of your own performance.
By the way, and talking about having time for nothing, it's called time affluence. And people are generally considered rich when they have affluence of financial resources or the affluence of time. And sometimes my clients approach me, especially at this time of the year, how do I negotiate a higher salary? Talking about balance and creating space, just we need to be aware that higher salary also is typically linked with more responsibility. That translates into less time. So think twice what you really want. Because I do think that the ecosystem is just more demanding with everything being online. So just creating that space might be the missing link or part for you actually feeling well at what you do and having a performance that is sustainable. Yeah. Satu, I have more and more people saying, how do I regain my motivation? I've been here too long and there's too much being asked of me. Wow. So talking about 4 days a week, that person would tell me, no, it's not coming. It's about 26 hours a day. So that space, I think, is important for people to feel well.
Yeah. And that's a very difficult or complex question because, of course, depending on the company culture, the country culture, and yourself as well, like how will you manage and create that change in your routines and your corporate culture to be able to even talk about the topic like working less might be actually more beneficial, and even starting the discussion about 4-day working week, how, some companies are not just ready for that. So it will take some time.
And we talk about responsibility, which is, you can get a filter blocking blue light, and you can also filter the number of information approaching you. So I think it starts and ends with everybody's responsibility.
Yeah.
Satu, I'm looking at the time. I wonder if people are interested in us answering the remaining questions or whether they have their own questions that they would like to shoot.
Yeah, just write them in the chat. We'll keep on talking until you want to hear something else. No, we don't have that much time, but I think what is interesting is really like, where are we going and what can I do personally? So also the question number 4 there. So are we going to be seeing this continuous virtual discussions, or are we going to go back to face-to-face? We discussed that last time as well, and I think it was nice to hear that some people are actually more keen on just listening without the video. I always tell my clients in coaching sessions that we need to have the videos on, and there is a purpose for that. But then again, I also recommend that sometimes you go have a walk and just talk to someone on the phone without having the videos, so that you have the variety. And I think there are now new tools and tricks coming, and one of the apps that is getting a lot of attention is the Clubhouse now, which is audio only. And it's very interesting to see how that has become a bigger and bigger thing in the media now. Like, are we switching from the video to more audio? We'll see.
And I think it's also a reaction of everything relying so much on the visual inputs. You know, all the Instagram and Snapchat and everything kind of is visual or videos. So this is different, and this is again kind of rebalancing. And I know you've been experimenting with Clubhouse and being in clubs and listening to some interesting discussions.
Yeah.
So I think that could also be the future, but certainly people are looking for more variety. You know, my 2 cents to this question is some discussions will no longer come back to face-to-face, because we became aware of the transactional costs. So for example, we chatted about grocery shopping, and I guess everybody has been forced to do more online shopping in these months. For sure. I think some of that is not coming back because it's so easy, and you really want the smoothest, the least costly exchange to get what you want. And I also know some companies are really kind of building internal sales force because they realize their sales guys will no longer be accepted just to be talked to, because the transactional costs are just too high. Yeah. So I think it's a big headache for some sales organizations. Like, where do we fall? Are we this online shop with the delivery, so goods with implicit value that you only want to buy for cheaper, or are we creating solutions and we need to discuss? And I think, again, customers might be tired of everybody talking about solutions. So something will surely be pushed and shopped online, and maybe even negotiated online only. Yeah,
and even the bigger decisions. And I think it's fascinating to see that there are actually now possibilities for people to almost like test drive the car online, and you don't really need to go to a shop anymore to buy anything. So there are a lot of tests, and I think that's good to see if the market is mature enough to move to online shopping. And I agree with Pavel that some face-to-face interaction will, of course, it will be there, and people will want to have that as well.
And, you know, and I also think that it will create a new challenge for us as human beings, because we do like the small talks, the social interactions with strangers, and this will be gone unless you talk to the courier, but he's off to another address, right? So we will need to be much more proactive in terms of having these new interactions with people, because I think there'll be smaller number of them.
Yeah, for sure. Looking back to the questions that we have, number 5 being a little bit out of the box now. How can I improve my ability to bounce back? And if someone is curious about what does that mean, I think it's worth explaining as well. When we talk about stressful times and making sure that you are able to lead your performance, and whether you're a negotiator or in any professional occupation or just in life, how do you make sure that you bounce back from a stressful situation? What are the tools and tricks for you to prepare a baseline that is so strong that you actually are able to go back to where you started from? And I think here, and you can, Pavel, add to my monologue here, I think routines play a big role. you need to you need to build a baseline for success in performance, because that will create you well, you will become a more robust person. You will have a more resilience playground, that you know that even if you're in a tough meeting or if you have a stressful period of time for months, you know that your baseline will carry you through that situation and you will bounce back. But the baseline is built not only with, let's say, healthy routines and sleep and all that, but it's also, for instance, for a negotiator, built with skills, preparation, tools, and all that. So it is a combination of performance, wellness related things and the know-how, show-how. And what do you want to add to that, Pavel? I'm trying to lead it now to your expertise. Curious about
sure.
that. Yeah.
What I really like is how, how in negotiation it has a different name, but it's really the same thing. There is the term called going to the balcony. This is where you are in the heat of negotiation. There's a lot of tension, there's a lot of pressure. And to really negotiate a good deal, you need to kind of disconnect for a little while and go to the balcony, which basically means get a helicopter view, reconnect with yourself. I've heard people starting meetings with 2 minutes meditation. I don't think that's stupid at all. I think it's actually very smart, because you reconnect to what is important. So when we talk about routines, they might not sound very sexy, but what they do is they help you reconnect with who you are, and making important decisions after doing that, I think is gets a much more chance of a balanced outcome and something that will be sustainable.
Totally. And for someone who doesn't enjoy meditation or thinks that's way out of my league, it could just be the box breathing exercise that we've covered in the past sessions, for instance, to regain that focus or gain that focus that you need to be able to thrive that meeting, and really create the space. And at the same time, as Pavel mentioned, lift yourself to the objective view of things, because you don't want to be in the heated discussion in a negotiation and feel like, okay, now my emotions are kicking in way too much. Of course, there are always emotions around you. But the basic thing is that what we want to aim for is that you have control over the situation. You know how to lead it, because you know how to switch between these nervous systems as well. If you remember, I've been talking about the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, the stress and the fight flight versus the rest and digest state. You are able to steer that. You are able to lead it and control it if you know some of the tricks that work for you.
And Satu, maybe that's a question to the audience. Have you developed a new habit, something that helps you regain balance after all these online sessions? And a lot of people are in an environment where they have to do more with less resources. Be curious to learn whether people went back to some old routines, old hobbies, or started doing more of something to compensate for that tension and pressure that we experience, not only from the media, but it's also at work.
Yeah. And we have a question as well for you, Pavel. What's your top one tip for negotiations? Maybe virtual negotiations, I don't know, or in general.
I will repeat the one that I said earlier. Just enter it with curiosity mindset. So don't go there with having all the answers in your head already, because then it's a monologue. It's not a negotiation. You can translate it into be open to questions, but you can also translate it into be open to shut up and let the other party speak. So that would be it. And also don't want everything. It kind of links back to question number one. More is not always better. So
I like that.
You might regret what you got.
Yeah.
We got one from Didier.
Yes. By the way, we have 2 minutes left, so this is probably the last one.
Balcony break, garden walk, my way to disconnect and clean up my mind. I love that. Connecting with the nature. It never fails. Never fails.
Absolutely. A great tip also, not necessarily for negotiations, but to do in these kind of busy times and busy days, is a brain dump exercise. And I know that I'm not going to have the time to explain it to you, but if you want to hear more about that and how that could help you to create space in your head, please get in touch. Just like a tip to raise their interest.
Okay, my 2 cents again. I started calling people like phone and asking how they've been. Nice. Without any agenda, just reconnecting socially. That's and that really also recreates some balance into the, the pressure of getting things done. And I have to, during this call, do that. So just
super
chatting.
Talking about chatting, time is running out, and we know that we already have the plan for the next session, which is mentioned already, which is the productivity session. And that's going to be in 2 weeks' time. And is that we go back to Thursdays, I believe now, which seems to be a better day for everyone.
We do. And actually, I think the discussion will continue a little bit of what we started today, because productivity is very much linked with spending the right amount of time to get the right amount of result.
Yeah.
So thanks everyone for your questions and your comments, and feel free to send them also on the LinkedIn. We will answer them and react to them.
Yeah, please do. You can even send private messages to both of us if you want any more information about these topics. And otherwise, we look forward to seeing you in the next session on the 11th. I'm going to finish the recording right now. So if you want to stay for another 5 minutes, that's fine. Officially, this is it.